Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to introduce you to the database that exists in Appery.io. This is very basic and an introduction to a database. Now if you look, when you log in after you create an account, when you log in you have a database tab. When you click on that, it'll give you a list of the databases that you have. Now we're going to create a new database. I can call it test DB, and then we click on create, and in the database you have, with the first thing that you do when you create, the first thing that happens when you create a database, it actually gives you three tables already, which is users, files, and devices. The user table, if you look at the user table, or we call it collections here, it comes automatically with a username and a password, and then authentication list, access control list, and you have created a time dated stamp when it was created and when it was updated. The other one, you have a file collection, which is basically for file management. The devices is that all the devices that are using your app. Okay, so the device ID, the token, the type, channels, time zone, these are used like especially for time notification, for notifications and stuff like that. Alright, the other part, which was we're interested in, and how do we create our own table. Okay, when you create a new collection, this is like a table in SQL, so you can call it customer table, for example. Okay, customers, just customers, and you click on add. Now here you have several things. Of course you have the access control, and then you have the ID. The ID is it's a unique identifier, and it's an auto generate, so you don't need to mess with it. Every time you create an ID, it will automatically give you a unique ID for this table. So when you click on, you can add columns, or you can edit columns, you can add rows and delete rows. The columns is like you're adding another field to your table. The rows, you're actually deleting data. So when you click on plus column, so if I have customer name, and the types, you have different types. You have string, number, boolean, date, array, pointer, and object. Okay. The one that we use a lot is basically strings and numbers. Boolean, like true or false, kind of like you want to check something if it has only two values, true or false. Arrays, if you want to store a list of things. For example, we have a list of URL of images, so you can put them in here. A pointer, I'm not sure, haven't used that. Object, like if you have, I'm guessing you can put any sort of object, could be a file, whatever. A geopoint is where you can store like a coordinates, latitude, longitude, and latitude. Okay, but we're interested in for now is customer name. Create column, and then you can see that you created the column here. You can create column, another column, and we're going to have this customer phone, for example, cust phone. And then you click, and it's a string again, create column. And then you add another column, and you call it cust city. And then here is a string again. Okay. Anyway, you got the idea. Now the security and permission, when you click on that, you can say it's a secure, or if you say secure collections, that means you have to send like a session ID with your request to here to make sure that it is secured. Okay, save, and you can create on change default so you can add user to this, like creator will have read and write user IK, or you can add your own users. Okay, so like certain users can have access to this table or this collection. Okay, you can create indexes. What does index mean? You can, for example, if you want to do search by customer name, it would be better if you index this by the customer name. That way your query will run faster. Okay, and then you can make it unique if you want and things like that. So these indices are used to make your query run faster. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that, but this is one way to make your application run faster. Okay, you can do get on this record, on this database. You can get you can do the get, you can do find, you can do create, you can do update. These are what we call the curl command. I haven't used them, but I don't know how would you use them, but they're there if you want to. The other part is your query. You can run a query, for example. Let's add records here. Gust name, let's add some rows. Here's how you add rows. Let's say customer name is IKEA or anything, Gust 1, and phone is 555, Gust City, Dubai, and click on, hit enter. Now add another row, Gust 2, and then here you can get customer phone 444 and city, let's say Sharjah. Alright. Okay, so I think with the query you can say, like what we said earlier in the previous video, you can say Gust name okay, and then you can put the value that you're looking for example Gust 1 here, sure we got the right spelling, and then you do run query, you get the customer that you're looking for. So this is the field name and this is the value name. This is what you will use later on in your when you're trying to run a service against the database. So this is basic information about the database. You can use it. So we created a table. Now we can use the table in the application. All right. So it's a quick introduction to the database. All right. How would you use this in your app? Basically, you will create. If we say we want to create a new app that uses this database, you can say create a new app, and remember we called it test. We have a database called testDB, and then let's call it test app, and then we will delete it when we're done. Okay, so we create. Already reached. Wow, we already have more than 40 apps. Okay, I guess we'll not test it now. I'll show you how we test it in the other parts. Okay. Oh, let me pause it. Alright, I deleted the app that, I deleted one of my apps so we can actually have another app. While we're waiting for the app to open up, I just want to show you how to use this database quickly. Alright, so to use this database, we have a page called Start Screen. Okay, all I want to do is that we have the in this screen. Let's just put a list of customers. Okay, we'll add a list, and and this list here we have only one item. Alright, and then apply. So we have one list of items. Now how would you use this? I want to get all the customers in this table. How would you do it? You go to here and say create. First step is that you create a database service. So that is where you start. You create a database service, you select the database we just created, TestDB, import services. The import services, these are log in, log out, sign up, all these services already done for us. And they're used mainly to manage the login process. Here you have the customer table, and then when you click on the customer table, this is what we created, customer table. We have, you can create, that means you can add, you can read, you can update, you can delete, you can list, and you can do the query. The query is where I showed you, you put the brackets to get the query. Now if you can do the list, and then you click import selected service, you'll notice here in the services, you have the login, log out, settings, sign up, and the customer list. Okay, the customer list, it gives you, this is your test database, the database URL, and the type of response data, and so forth. Now if you look at the request, I'm not querying anything, so I'm just going to get everything. So we leave it as blank. And the response, these are the fields that I'm getting from the database. I don't need this access control list, so I'm going to delete it. So, and I don't need when it was created, don't need when it's this, the ID we can leave, okay? All right, so this is my response. To test it, all you do test here, and then you can get basically the values from the database. Okay. All right. The import as response, sometimes if it's not a database, sometimes what happens when you do this, it basically, if you're querying a service other than a database, or maybe in the database too, when you click on import as response, what happens in the response, this would be the value that you will receive. Okay, so delete, I'm going to delete this guy here too. Well, no, leave it. Okay, so that would be your in the test, this would be like the field that you would map. Okay, so it's already done, but this will appear. You notice this is what happens when you say import as response. It'll appear in your response object. Okay, so if I go back, so that's the first step. You create a new service. You create a database service. The next step is that you go to the pages that you want to use the data or that service, and you map, or you go to the data piece, and then you add a service, the same service that we created there. So we call that service the database service. It will give us the data, and when we get the data, we map the response, or if we are sending data to the server, if we're sending the data to a server, we map the request, because we don't have anything here to map to, so we're fine. But in the response, I closed it by mistake. This is in the response, cancel this. In the response, you'll see that you have mapping. Here's your service response. Here's where you get the data from your database. You see that? These are the fields that we saw in there. And here we have a mobile list. This is your mobile list. These are the mobile list items. Now we take this guy and we map it to this. We take the customer name and we map it to the text. Okay, and we say test. And the option here, allow pop-up from 4 IPs. Okay, I don't know if it'll allow it again, but we run it. You'll notice that you get the fields when it, well, one more thing we have to do. We have to invoke the service as the page load. So we didn't do that. This is a common mistake. So save and return. Let's close all of these, and then what you need to do, you need to go back to the page that you're in, and we need to add an event. That means when this is my start screen, when I first load the app, or load the page, or show the page. However, if you have page show or load, okay, page show, what happens, I'm gonna do is invoke a service. Which service? Service 1, the one that we created in the other page. So now we click on save, and then you click on run. And then now you can do test, and then you should see something. All right, it's working. We got customer 1, customer 2 from the database. All right, so that's just a brief introduction on how to use Appery and the database in Appery. We're done in this video.